Hello and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Husky Technologies. Today we'll take an in-depth look at how to maximize your system performance through Husky's Hot Runner Care Refurbishment program. My name is Patrick Werler. I'm a Business Development Manager at Husky. For today's webinar, we are joined by Michael Pastor, who is a Product Manager for PET tooling at Husky. Mike has been in this role since November 2021. He joined Husky's PET tooling operations business in 2006, managing production of PET stacks, and has since held many positions throughout Husky's PET aftermarket tooling group. Investing in the care and refurbishment of your hot runner system isn't just routine maintenance. It's a strategic move that can optimize your entire production process, leading to long-term profitability. Today, we'll explore Husky's Hot Runner Care Refurbishment program, which is designed to empower you with proactive hot runner management strategies that will enable you to achieve operational excellence and provide a worry-free approach to hot runner maintenance. We will cover some common challenges in hot runner care, the benefits you can experience through proper hot runner care and refurbishment, and strategies for continuous production during refurbishment phases. We'll also look at Husky's innovative approach to hot runner maintenance and real-world case studies demonstrating the impact of proper hot runner care. Before I hand over to Mike, just a bit of housekeeping. There are 50 minutes at the end of this webinar reserved for a Q&A. Using the Q&A box, please enter your questions and we can put them to our presenter at the end of the session. You can do this throughout the entire webinar and we will try to get as many of your questions answered as possible. Please submit any technical questions as well via the Q&A box. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Mike for the presentation. Mike, all yours.
Thank you very much, Patrick, and thank you for the very glowing introduction. I appreciate that. So today we're going to talk about hot runner care, and we're going to see the benefits of how this program can really enable you to achieve operational excellence. We'll go through why hot runner refurbishment is so important. We'll talk about today's production challenges. We'll go through what the product is, what's included in the product, what it's available on, how it's structured, and how it's supported. If we think about today's system, this is our latest and greatest HiPET 6E platform designed for sustainable molding. If we think about it, it takes all the benefits that we have of reduced energy consumption to produce the same type of preform. It is the top of the line preform system we have today. But if we think about its cost, we think about what it produces. This is what it produces today, this preform. But we talk about the cost that comes into that. 80% of that cost is in the material alone. If we think about this is one of the things that you control. And we think about the other, which we'll talk more about today, is on the conversion cost. And these three sections where we have our planned downtime, our performance, availability, and quality, which those all are your OEE calculations. So we think about how OEE is calculated today. We have all of these subsections that go into how you formulate or how you calculate your OEE or your production. And of course, all of these creates available time you have. This is your total time, which, 24/7, 365 days a year. That total time is 8,760 hours. But obviously, you're not running this entire time. You're actually running within this designed window here. So this is your production window, which you see, and this is actually around 8,400 hours. The hours can be different, but in general, this is what we see from our best practices or industry-wide. What's at the top of that remaining time is usually allotted for tooling maintenance. So you'll see that this is where you have your vacations, your PMs, and your tool changes. This is all what we call planned downtime. It's important to understand this because it really helps us transition to understanding the impact of how your OEE can be affected. When not addressing maintenance, you can look at issues with unplanned downtime, block cavities, cycle variance, and poor part quality, and these can really narrow or reduce your OEE and even your production window. If we think about the value of OEE, this is something that's often not just discussed, is we see our converters today, and they're really in the best in class of trying to reduce that OEE or increase their OEE by 3 to 5%. And it's minimizing unplanned downtime, sustained maximum number of cavities, and maintaining that original cycle and flash quality. When you don't do this, you can really see a huge impact on your overall production. And one of those is how much loss you can have per year. If you think about our 160 cavity system running at full cycle and full cavitation, and you see any kind of loss to that 1 billion parts it can produce in a year of 3%, that equates to 30 million preforms lost. So keep that in mind as we go through the next couple slides, and we'll really translate that into how this is affected. If we think about your hot runner today, it is at the heart of your PET system. It is the most critical point of where the melt delivery system hits the cavity itself. It produces this preform. And if we transition to the cross section, here is your standard Husky PET cross section design producing this part. Over time, you have expected wear. And every year, you can see anywhere from 3 million or more cycles gathered. If we think about this is cycles similar to your car with miles or kilometers. This is how much wear you accrue over that time frame. And with that wear, you have to replace certain parts. And if you follow the maintenance schedule, you'll see that these are the parts that you would replace on those maintenance guidelines. And if you don't replace these parts, you can see impacts, right? So these are some standard defects that you can see if you're not performing this hot runner maintenance. Now, if we go back to that value of OEE, here is where we actually connect the dots to say, these are the preform defects that you just saw. And this is where we can see that loss of production. Now, it's important to note that not all of these defects you have to shut off a cavity for, because sometimes you can produce and they're minor. But when they get to a point where they're major, this is where that impact of that 30 million is lost from, right? When these you can no longer produce these parts because the defects are so significant that you can no longer produce a good part and you have to shut off that cavity. And that's where we see that loss of production. How does Husky help? Hot runner care. This product is proactively monitored and managed by Husky, and it enables you to produce more parts and provide more uptime. And we do this with a 5-year commitment of parts and service to give you guaranteed quality and to give you a worry-free experience. Again, as I said at the beginning of this webinar, this helps you achieve operational excellence. We take all of the worry and all of the concern of all of these different things that you'll have to juggle, and we take care of that for you. Let's talk about some of your challenges today. Unplanned downtime, unforeseen wear or degradation of the OEE. So really, do you know when the maintenance intervals are for your equipment? And then, of course, subsequently from that is the quality control, right? So as you see your equipment start to wear, you start to produce defects. Now comes the unpredictable lead time. And of course, the budget, unforeseen refurbishment costs. Not everyone has that total cost of ownership horizon or projection, and then they don't have the budget for this. And I think globally, everyone's going through the reduction in skilled workforce. Today, we're seeing the next generation come along, and it's going to take some time to help transition them to the level of the previous workforce. So again, hot runner care is really a proactive hot runner maintenance program. It provides predictable operational expenses. This helps spread your cash flow evenly from a CapEx large request to an OpEx level loaded request to manage your finances and to manage your operational costs consistently year over year over year. And we provide the means to reduce that downtime from anywhere from 6 weeks or more down to 1 day. Ultimately, our goal is to keep production going while we do these hot runner refurbs and produce the highest quality preforms possible. What's included in this program? If we think about all of the scheduled maintenance that you have to have for hot runner refurbishment and maintenance, this is all included. We look at the entire duration of the 5 years that you have the hot runner running, and we look at all of the guaranteed refurbs that have to happen, given the timeline and given the usage that you are projected to have. And we include all of the maintenance requirements for those 5 years. Included also in that is the guaranteed loaner. So this is really where we enable you to have that additional uptime, is by providing you with a guaranteed loaner whenever the major refurb has to happen. Something that is really beneficial to our customers is this emergency support. So we have a two-pronged approach to making sure that we can keep our customers producing as many parts as possible and at full cavitation and at good quality. First, we like to get boots on the ground. This really helps us try and solve the problem by having a technician come on site within days of notification of the issue. And if we cannot solve that problem, our next step is to get you a loaner hot runner. We take that hot runner back to Husky. We disassemble it. We go through the process of understanding what the issue is. You have that loaner hot runner. You're up. You're producing parts. You're not impacting your schedule, and we're taking care of that hot runner to see what the issue is. Ultimately, how do we do this? We do this with regular health check-ins. So we have two digital platforms, which I'll talk about. And if we don't have digital platforms, then it's a manual data collection. And last but not least, again, is the flexible payments, right? So being able to have equal yearly payments to help spread that OpEx type of approach is really beneficial to our customers. It really helps them control their costs as well as have all the maintenance to provide a true worry-free solution. What does this apply to? So we have this for new systems, new molds, and new hot runners. And as well, we have this for used hot runners existing in the field today. It's a 5-year contract. It is all the scheduled refurb and maintenance. We have the emergency support of on-site boots on the ground, a guaranteed loaner for when that refurb has to happen back at Husky. This is ultimately trying to provide a worry-free maintenance solution to our customers. How do we create these programs, or how do we structure this? Each hot runner generation has its own maintenance and schedule cycle. If we think about that cycle time or that utilization of how many times you will be running that hot runner, ultimately determines what your estimated cycle count will be, right? So, you think about your odometer on your car, same type of approach here. This really provides us with what your expected usage will be in cycles. Each contract is based on the cycle utilization that you have. This will ultimately determine what refurb events we have to deliver, whether it's on-site parts again, or if it's a complete refurb where we have a loaner placed out, obviously guaranteed, and then go back to minor events where we do this on site. This is really ultimately the approach we take. We look at the entire scope you'll need for that 5-year contract, and we deliver all of the expected refurb and maintenance required to make sure that your optimal performance is achieved. Also, if we think about it on the flip side, let's talk about a used hot runner. That was, if I go back one slide, that was taking into account a new hot runner. If we look at the used hot runner side of things, we do a reset of the hot runner at the beginning of the contract. This enables you to have the best performing hot runner to start the program and to move all the way through. This really ensures that you have the optimal hot runner at the start of the contract, and then properly maintained by Husky for the duration of the contract. This really ensures confidence with Husky and with you to know that while the hot runner is under contract, you're getting the proper maintenance that is required. If we think about the support that's needed outside of just these refurb programs, Husky has the best performing hot runner out there in the marketplace today. However, things do happen, and we understand that. And when those things happen, we're here to help fill in those gaps. This is a partnership where we make sure that we, again, try that emergency support approach first. We get people, boots on the ground. If that doesn't solve it, then we're looking at getting you a loaner hot runner to get you back up and running, to keep you producing parts and at top quality to meet your production needs. Again, how are we doing this? So we talked about, we have 2 digital platforms today. So we have our Advantage Plus Elite, and we have our ShotScope 4.0. These 2 digital platforms enable Husky to remotely connect to your system. Excuse me for a second. And collect that data. So this gives us an accurate production window of how you're producing, your cycle time, injection, your process profile, all of these things. We can get these digitally to really understand your current path you're on, and do we need to act sooner than later, or do we need to delay because of your current performance? And if you do not have those 2 digital platforms, not to worry. We also have the manual request method. So we have a dedicated program manager. They will be looking at all of these different avenues and how to get that data today, bring it back, assess it, and understand what is the trajectory of your performance, and is there something we need to act, delay, or stay on course. How do we drive this? How do we use this data? How does this program manager really work? If we think about that, program manager is looking for block cavities, looking at the odometer reading, right? The cycle count, are they on pace? And is there issues with poor part quality? This really helps us drive action. When we're looking at these specific areas, we understand your performance. And from there, this will then drive action to either have parts shipped to you and have a technician on site to change those parts. Or as mentioned, is it part of the emergency support umbrella, where we come on site and try to resolve some of the issues that you're experiencing? Or is it something more comprehensive? Do we need to look at getting you a loaner hot runner, prepping and shipping that loaner hot runner to you, shipping it to you, you doing the changeover, shipping us that hot runner back? Ultimately, it comes back to Husky, right? Husky then does the refurb, does the inspection, determines what the issue is, what the root cause is of that hot runner, and then really arranges, refurbs, sends it back to you, and then you do the simple swap over again, ship us back that loaner, and you're back up and running. This whole time, you've only been down for a day, half a day to send us the hot runner and change over, and then half a day once you get your hot runner back. This really is how we're enabling customers to keep producing at multiple, at full cavitation and the best cycle possible. If I show you more of a linear approach to this, this is really a conventional way to do hot runner refurbs today. And this is very reactive, right? So, you've seen something, there's an issue, now you're looking at it. This is interruption to your business, right? You're saying, well, we see a problem, we have to act, right? So then there's some time frame in here for getting that hot runner back, scheduling it, and getting it to Husky. Ultimately, you have some logistics involved. You get the hot runner to Husky. We perform the refurb, right? Sometimes there's additional scope required because of what was found during the investigation of the hot runner. Ultimately, after the refurb is done, we ship that hot runner back to you. You can be down for anywhere from 6 weeks or more, right? You're not producing parts during this time frame. This is a reactive impact to your business. If we look at how we do hot runner care, it's a very different approach. When we have that digital connectivity and we have that program check-in, we're looking for issues before they become issues. We're trying to prevent business interruption by proactively monitoring the performance of these hot runners, we're looking to make sure that we avoid any kind of critical downtime. How do we do that? Right? We look at that data, we sift through it, as mentioned on the previous slides, and then we know what we need to ship ahead of time. We're already ahead of the game by shipping you either a loaner hot runner or by shipping you parts and having a technician come on site. And then we do the simple changeover, right? You send us back the hot runner. We do the refurb. We ship it back to you. The simple changeover again. You're really only down for half a day here and half a day here. And I'm being very conservative when I say half a day. So really a total day. Here you can see it's 6 weeks down to 1 day. You're producing this entire time. No interruption to your business versus the very conventional reactive way. Lots of interruption to your business. This is really how Hot Runner Care takes advantage of having our loaner program and be able to address issues before they become major issues to your operation. If we compare just a traditional approach, again, it's very reactive. It comes with downtime. It's a one-time parts and service. And it really is, this is just your standard practice today. This is what all good operators should be doing regardless. But if we think about what Hot Runner Care really does, and again, I'll say it one more time, it achieves operational excellence, right? This really takes advantage of that planned downtime you have and reduces it to open up your production window by proactively monitoring and managing that, right? We have access to that data. We give you more production time, which enables you to produce more parts. And we do it with a guaranteed structure of parts and service for a worry-free approach. Now, if we go back to the operational window, here's where we really see that difference. If you remember at the beginning, we talked about the operational window and we talked about the tooling maintenance. Here's where we said, here's your tooling maintenance, and here's where that planned downtime is. So how can we take advantage of that, right? Let's look at that window one more time. This is before you have Hot Runner Care. And now with that, you see this additional line here. This is now the additional production you get, which changes that production window. Here you can see we are now giving you back more time. If you notice, I'll flip back one more time. You'll see 8,400 hours. If I go ahead now, you're going to see that number change to now 8,600 hours. Here's where we really give you more time to produce more parts. This is how we achieve operational excellence, making refurbishment work for you by putting money back into your pocket and being able to produce more parts. This really helps you take advantage of downtime that you would normally have to plan for in the past. So if we go back to the value, right? We talk about it, the predictable operational expenses. This is really where Husky has enabled our customers to take advantage of this program. A lot of customers today aren't planning for that total cost of ownership. If we think about it up front, of having that maintenance plan secured with the new system up front, you can ensure that you have a 5-year window of maintenance-free or worry-free issues with your maintenance. And if it's not on a new system and on an existing system, we do see a tremendous amount of traction here as well, is taking your hot runner today. You don't know how many cycles are on it. You don't know the condition it's in. We take that hot runner back. We refurb it. We do a complete overhaul to that hot runner and bring it back to like new conditions at the start of the contract. And we don't do that with major CapEx. We do that with OpEx-like approach. So that's level loaded all the way across. This means that this is an affordable, lower yearly equal payment that helps you enable to get that hot runner refurbed upfront, not going through the difficult CapEx problems, but also ensuring that you're not just getting the hot runner refurbed in year one, you're getting all of the maintenance that's required over the next 5 years. This really does change the game in terms of how to free up your cash flow or how to understand where to put your dollars to manage your business better from a total cost of ownership, right? This really does provide that window into this is my cost today on a traditional approach, which is high in CapEx, or this is my OpEx approach, level loaded equally over the course of the next 5 years. We do this again by reducing that planned downtime, right? So with the guaranteed loaner, we're taking that 6 weeks down to 1 day. And this, again, is ultimately meant to keep production going during the hot runner refurb, right? So we want to make sure that you're at full cavitation at best possible cycle. And we want to make sure that we're proactively watching for this whenever this comes into play. We have a dedicated program manager that is watching all of these contracts, that is ensuring that the timelines and the commitments that are made during the course of the 5-year contract are being upheld. They're also ensuring that they check in with the customer to make sure that they get all of the service that they need when they need it, and ensuring that we really take that headache or that pain point away from you, because we know when the maintenance is, we know when it's due, we know what parts need to be replaced, and we make sure that we proactively schedule it for the next 5 years. This gives you peace of mind to ensure that you can meet your production needs, and it's one less problem that you have to solve. Excuse me. If you think about from a new system perspective, where you have to have a hot runner refurbed in 3 years from now, but you don't know when in the next 3 years, that's how Husky helps. We're monitoring that performance. We're making sure that we watch that hot runner and we know when that hot runner refurb has to happen. Not only that, we have the asset secured to provide you that loaner and work with you on when the next downtime you're going to have that's planned for machine maintenance or vacation schedule. We'll work with you to make sure that we get that loaner to you swapped over when you're down, so that we take advantage of your planned downtime for holidays and other machine maintenance that you may have. So really another great way to enable this is the proactive quality control that we do and the monitoring that we do to work with you. Now, there's a lot of hot runners that are on this list, so I don't expect everyone to remember this, and there will not be a skill testing question at the end of this webinar on which generations are here, but it's meant to really show that when we think about all of these different hot runners that Husky has to support today from a PET perspective, right? These are all of those hot runner generations, and they come with something that is very important for us, is a pneumatic cycle counter. So one thing that's not talked about enough is that we ensure that every hot runner that is under hot runner care has a cycle counter on it at the start of the contract. We do this so that we can ensure that the performance is 100% measured. Yes, we have digital connectivity programs, and we have digital tags, but this way, with the pneumatic cycle counter, every time that hot runner is opening and closing, we know as we've measured the shot. This is our how to say this, safety plan to make sure that we are tracking the cycles and we have 100% assurance that we know what the performance is. So what you'll also see here is on the used hot runner side, if we think about, we'll go back one slide, this is all on the new systems and new molds side of things, right? These are all of the new systems that we follow. But if we go from the used perspective, there's a tremendous library of older hot runners that are out there in the field today, and we are supporting them as well. So this is really key to note, is that we understand, you're not always going to be buying new systems, so it doesn't always make sense, but we're here to support our legacy hot runners as well. And as you can see from these lists here, we go very back far in time to make sure that we support these. Now I'd like to talk about a couple customers that we've worked with who do have hot runner care, and we've seen tremendous impact to their business. Pretty Packaging was one of our hot runner care customers, or is one of our hot runner care customers. And you can see on the right here, I'm not going to read it word for word. It's a glowing review really of how hot runner care has enabled them. But when we think about just the measurables, what's the value? We got them 6.6 months more of additional uptime with all of the loaners that we supplied. That equated to 37 million more preforms they could produce. That was at $4 per thousand, 151K more in value. This really does speak to how Hot Runner Care has enabled our customer Prey Packaging to take advantage of this program. Again, all level loaded, right? So one of the benefits they saw was the financing of having the equal cost of all of the refurbs done. This enabled them to get their entire fleet of Hot Runners done, not just one or two. We did their entire fleet of Hot Runners. And this is what you see as the direct impact or the direct result of that to them. So really tremendous value to them. Really enable them to overhaul their plant, and just a great working relationship. They really do appreciate the cadence, the check-ins, when we try to send people on site to get them back up and running when we see an issue, and it really is a partnership at the end of the day. And that's really what I value the most, is that this isn't just a one-time fix. This is a partnership, a 5-year commitment to our customers to make sure that they can no longer have the stress of, the maintenance intervals, the wear time, all of these things out the window. We take care of it all. Now we're going to talk about Logoplast. So Logoplast also, this was a tremendous program for Logoplast. Now the uptime, or the amount of additional uptime that they received, is 2.76 years. We overhauled their entire fleet of Hot Runners as well. This was a very large order. We worked with them. We scheduled through all the different refurbs that had to happen, when they had to happen, and we worked with their production to know when we could shut things down, to do the swap over of the loaner and get them started back up. We made sure that we didn't impact their current business, but only improved it. The additional preforms that they received from this program is tremendous, at 161 million more preforms, and the value at $4 per thousand, it's outstanding. That's just in the first year of this program. So really, there's the continued support after this. These were all existing Hot Runners in the field. So these were all Hot Runners that they had issues with, and they had so many they didn't know where to start. This was really how we took care of it all, from that perspective. A tremendous value for all of this program. So really, again, why Husky? We have the skill set, right? We have the digital connectivity, we have the tools, the manpower, we can do this at scale, and these are our parts, right? So we know from front to back our equipment, we have the people, we have the locations, we have it at scale, and we have the digital connectivity to remote into these systems and help support you from front to back. Whether it's a new Hot Runner, whether it's a used Hot Runner, we're here to help. Now, as we go through this, we think about why Husky is one more piece of the puzzle here. Husky in general, right? We have our Husky Complete solution. And if we look at this dial or this wheel across here, it's the industry's complete connected end-to-end solution. I apologize here, that's showing up on your screens. We have this complete end-to-end solution, right? We're connected, right? So we have the digitized OEM parts, right? We have the connectivity for the We Call You programs. We have our training academy. And of course, what we're talking about today is the tooling lifecycle optimization, right? And the fully digital delivery model of it, right? So really, as we follow through all these programs, this is how we have Husky Complete. And last but not least is our factory planning and optimization. When we think about how this all ties together, it starts on our customer journey from here, moves into how we deliver, and then how we take care of it, and then how we make sure our customers are trained, how we're supporting them, and really what parts and what products do we have that enable them further down the road. So this does bring me to the end of our webinar. I know that we're about 10 minutes fast on us, so I do apologize. But as you can see at the end of the deck here, we have you can scan the QR code, right? So you can contact myself. You can get to know more about Hot Runner Care, and we can look at how we can support you and helping you achieve operational excellence. So with that said, Patrick, I'll hand that over to you.
Thank you very much, Mike. And thanks also for this very interesting presentation. And also thank you for your attention so far, everybody. Now I'd like to move to the Q&A section of the session. And we've already received some great questions, but please continue to send them in. And if we shouldn't manage to go through all of your questions, of course, don't be worried. The team will follow up with you individually after the session. So let's get started. Mike, first question we got is from time to time, we receive older or used Husky hot runners. Does Husky provide a service to inspect and bring the hot runner system to like new and certified equipment's condition?
So thank you, Patrick. That's a great question. So I want to answer this in a couple of different ways. So we have different products and services to meet the entire array of concerns that our customers have. So one product we have is an assessment program where we can go on site and we can do an assessment of your equipment, of your hot runner, right? This will help us determine what the relative state of the hot runner would be. However, it doesn't determine whether we have cracked plates or we have issues with cracked manifolds or faulty parts, as it's a very visual inspection. What we do recommend, and if you were starting with Hot Runner Care, what we would recommend is so an existing hot runner that's used today, we would bring it back in. We would do a full inspection. With that full inspection, we get a complete what they call post-inspection report. That inspection report goes through all of the components that are being reused and determines whether they can be reused or not, based on what our measurements would be, right? So we have service limits for all of the reused components. We would provide an inspection report to the customer to say what can be and what cannot be saved. With Hot Runner Care, I want to add that's very important and very vital. We cover all of the additional cost at the beginning with a used hot runner, except for cracked plates and cracked manifolds. Those are two things that we cannot find or cannot cover or cannot pick up until obviously we get the hot runner back to Husky. But to answer the question, we have different ways to look at the equipment, whether we can do it in the field with an assessment program, right? We can come on site, we can do an assessment, or we do the very detailed comprehensive program where we kick off a hot runner care project, we get you the loaner, we take that hot runner back, we do a full disassembly, a full inspection, we tell you of the reused parts that we are replacing, or sorry, the reused parts that we are keeping, whether they are serviceable or not based on our engineering specifications. And if they need to be replaced, they will do so. If it's cracked plate or cracked manifold, those are not covered, but everything else is. So in a traditional approach, that doesn't always happen. But with hot runner care, that's one of the benefits you have.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Next up, question is, how many cycles can a hot runner run without any type of maintenance?
That's a very good one. To answer this is really, we have our different generations. If you remember in the presentation, I showed a picture of the hot runner and I said the generation, and then I said the usage or the cycle time. Each hot runner generation has its own specific cycle maintenance interval, and based on its generation would determine when that milestone is due. We're looking at anywhere from 3 to 4 million cycles, and on our latest technology, 4 to 5 million cycles. So it really depends. It's generation specific, but ultimately, those are kind of the two target windows for when we do our first interval of maintenance. And then, of course, if we move past the 4 to 5, then or even the 3 to 4, we get up to the 8s and the 10s. We do another maintenance interval, but anywhere from 3 to 4 or 4 to 5, depending on the generation that you have.
Okay, thank you. Next up, what is Husky doing to extend the maintenance intervals?
A very good question. Okay, so if I go back a couple slides here, I'm just going to go to the list of hot runners that we have. Go back a couple slides here. Forgive me. All right. If you can see here, each generation of hot runner comes with its own new enhancements and its own new nozzle tip design, stack design, plate design. Continuously, we're performing R&D on all of our hot runner systems, and we are continuously evolving to produce the best possible hot runner in the market today. And that's how we extend our cycle times is if you look at our previous generations, again, I talked about our high pets, they're in the 3 to 4 million. We talk about our HPP5, you're in that 4 to 5 million. So by continuously looking at how our hot runners perform and providing that R&D and that research to know what are the actual intervals, as we are the OEM, we're continuously looking at how we can always improve our hot runner design. It is the best in the market today, and it continues to be. It's because of that dedication to the R&D to make sure that we provide the maximum performance for this equipment out there today.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So we have 3 more. So please, if you have other questions, send them in, put them in the chat so that Mike can help answer them. Next one, can I perform a hot runner refurbishment in my own tool room all by myself?
A very good question. So I would say no to this. And the reason I would say no, I'm going to go back a couple slides here, is the specific type of, oops, sorry, skipped it. The specific types of parts and services that are required. We have a lot of customers today that do take on their hot runner maintenance. However, they can only do it at certain scale. If we think about the intervals or the milestones that started off the Q&A session, we have specific points where we have different parts and different services. And if I go really all the way to the front of the presentation, you'll see where that really does take that into effect. That level of parts and service that we provide is really, oh, there it is, perfect, is really determined on the intervals, right? And if you're not replacing the proper parts required based on the certain cycle count, and you have that knowledge to know what to do to change over, you can be doing yourself a disservice. Husky is, we are the OEM manufacturer. We know these parts. We know this timeline that you see here. We know which ones have to be changed over. We have the people and the skill to do this. This is also something that is a very important piece to note as well. If we talk about the skilled labor piece, this is something that is taught over time on how to take these parts out properly and how to put the new parts in. So this, as customers replace their workforce, they don't always keep up with the training on how to actually change over these parts themselves. Minor maintenance, sure, you can perform it. Major maintenance, like a refurbishment where we do a letdown and where we clean the manifolds, that's not recommended. And that's why hot runner care is so beneficial. We look at that entire timeline. We look at all of it. We know all of it, and we determine when and what has to be changed over, and we take that problem away from you. And this timeline here shows on how we know what parts have to be changed and when they have to be changed and the level of work that has to be done to it. So it's a very long answer to a short question, but essentially, I would not recommend that you perform the maintenance on your hot runner. I would leave this to Husky to do. However, there is a lot of customers today that do have this experience, we're not gonna question their business practices, and if they're very good at it today, great. But if there's something that you feel is not being done properly by your team today, this is something that we can definitely talk about, where we bring the skilled people in and we change the parts over and we take that worry-free away from you of knowing what parts have to be changed, what parts can be replaced, what parts can't be replaced and need to be, or sorry, what can't be reused and need to be replaced. We take all of that concern away from you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So next up is when is the best time to do the preventive maintenance on my hot runner system, and what does the downtime typically look like?
That's a very convolute or interesting question. When we say best time, so again, looking at this maintenance window here, this maintenance plan, it all depends really on what level of maintenance is required. First, what usage is on the hot runner. So we think about when we talk about hot runner care, it comes with a cycle counter. So we know what cycles are on this hot runner from the get-go, right? Either it's the digital connectivity we have, or it's we're reading the cycle counters manually. We know when that best time to do it is. And it really is dependent on your usage and your wear. That's ultimately what determines when you have to do your maintenance. That's the when. And the downtime required, that is also dependent on your needs. If it's critical that you have the system up and running, hot runner care is beneficial to this because for the minor maintenance that we do, we provide people on site that avoids the hot runner having to come back to Husky. We change over those parts on site to get you back up and running as fast as possible. If it's something more comprehensive, where we have to clean the manifolds, we have to machine the plates and reset some of the seats and the wear items, then that's where we provide a loaner. We make sure that we provide that loaner to you. It's a plug and play solution. There's no issues. We check the compatibility of your machine. We check the compatibility of your cold half. We make sure the software is right. We get you a plug and play hot runner that will run while we take your hot runner back to Husky. We do the refurb. Again, that's the downtime that we eliminate from that. If you're not following that practice, you can see anywhere from 6 weeks to potentially 8 weeks. And again, if I talk about the benefits of hot runner care, where the post-inspection process is not to be underestimated. If you haven't been taking care of your hot runner, there can be a lot of additional charges that can apply because of the condition of it. And only when you really pull that hot runner apart and you do a complete scoping of all the manifolds and all the plates, remove all the resin, and you have a chance to look at all of these components that are being reused, do you get a chance to see all of those and know which can be reused or not? So that can be a very, very big surprise when you're going the traditional route. With hot runner care, you don't even see that unless it's a cracked plate or a cracked manifold. That's not your concern. It's completely out of your way. You know that we're taking all of those parts into consideration and providing you with a complete solution. So hopefully it's again a very long answer to a very short question, but it's specific on your usage, and the downtime that comes with it depends on where you are in your usage as well.
Understood. Thanks, Mike.
No
So we have 2 more. So feel free to provide more questions. We still have some time left in the webinar. Just put them in the Q&A box. So next question, and seems to be from the thin wall packaging industry. Question is, we are on the thin wall package. Does any of this program apply to our custom hot runner system, or do you have a program that can apply to these hot runners as well?
So today, this is as it shows on the top of the screen. This is a PET program today, so specific for PET hot runners. I can also speak to the product manager on the thin wall packaging side, and it's something we can take away. If you, again, we go to the end slide, you can contact me, and we can start that discussion to see what the potential is for that. I'm not saying no, and I'm not saying yes. I'm saying let's see, because today, as you can tell, there's a lot of work that goes into understanding how many hot runners are out there, where we can have the loaners, where it makes sense to provide the loaners, which ultimately saves you the downtime that you see here, but also the maintenance intervals of those hot runners. What are the maintenance intervals of those hot runners? And what are we packaging together to get you that 5-year commitment? So I'll go back to the end slide again. please contact me for that one, and we can take that offline and continue that discussion and see if there's a fit for it.
Thank you, Mike. So last question right now in the chat. Does the Husky Academy supply the trainings to complete these maintenances?
So the minor maintenance, yes. We do provide training for minor maintenance to know how to get these parts changed over in the field. Again, it is the minor maintenance I talk about. For the major maintenance, this is not something that the Husky Academy provides. We provide you with the knowledge of the parts, the importance of them, and the interface of them. However, the major refurbishments, they come back to Husky as they have our service limits. That's Husky's internal methodology of knowing when the plates can be and cannot be reserviced, as well as how to clean those manifolds, and all of our standard processes today that we've developed on how to make sure that we deliver a great hot runner to our customers after the refurb.
Thank you, Mike. And that looks to be the last question, unless you have one more pending. Please put them in the chat. But looks like that's all we have had for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. The webinar will be available on demand within the next couple of days, so you will be sent a link to access it in case you want to recap on anything you've seen in today's session. And it just leaves me to thank very much our speaker, Mike Busder, and also thank you, everybody, for watching and joining in the session today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.